Hello, my name's Dale. Call me Dale the librarian, if you will. I am here to help you with a few things, get you up to speed. But just so you know, I'm always here for you. You can find me at dale.larson@utah.edu. Email me anytime, and I will reach out to you. And I could make a video for you, or I could just send you email, or we can meet in person, meet on Zoom, that sort of thing. So don't feel like I'm giving you the heave-ho. But what I'm going to show you today is how to navigate the library website. This will be a crash course. I'm not going to give you the excruciating details. How to generate keywords, and I'll talk about what those are used for in scholarly research, and how to find and use peer-reviewed articles. Okay, so the first thing, library website. Every academic library has four main things. The library catalog, where you can search anything, and this is a curated list of things. So it'll be, we index the library website, there's the catalog in general, but you can go drill down to articles specifically, or if you wanted the name of a journal, there's thousands of academic journals. So 534 have crime as a subject or in the title. There's research guides built by librarians like me. There's books, obviously, digital library, audio, and video. Every academic library is different, but if you see anything on when you're searching in the catalog or anything like that, you can find everything through the second thing I want to show you, interlibrary loan. Interlibrary loan, when you click on there, you have to do like a little registration thing. But what that represents is all of the known information in the universe. Can I boldly say that? So if you find a citation for something, there's a book chapter, an article, a government document, and you can't find it, if you request it through interlibrary loan, that's a free service for you where you can have it delivered to you. Usually takes about a day, sometimes less than a day. The record I've seen is like 10 minutes. I had a student in class do that once. Library catalog's great for looking up textbooks too, by the way, or required readings. I have a budget and I can buy stuff for you. The third thing every academic library has is databases. These you might be familiar with. There's like EBSCO, there's like JSTOR, or different databases that you're familiar with. If you're not familiar with these, there's subject librarians for every discipline on campus. And you can also go in and say, oh, what's the best anthropology database? And whoever that librarian is, Murray Paiva, will have put their favorite database at the top. You can do that for sociology. Dun-dun-dun. Or any class that you go into. Being the sociology librarian, I put sociological abstracts, which I adore. I'll show you that and some other ones today. All of those, you should be aware that it's like Netflix or Hulu. You have to log in. So if you can't get access to them, do the off-campus access, or log into CIS, or log into Canvas. Anything that makes you do that dual authentication. The last thing is research guides. Come along with me, if you will. Hey, there's my face. There's me pre-mustache. So if you just type in, oh, by the way, there's other things in here too. Do you want help with geographic information systems? Do you want help with statistics? Do you want help with like math tutoring or writing? There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. But if we go into sociology, you can click on this. And I have, my cheeky mug again, if we go to social research methods, I have a list of my favorite resources to use in the library to find things. So the first one is going to be background info. One of the first things you do in scholarship is you have to figure out how people are talking about it. And the it being social inequality, crime, criminal justice system. So we come to school with, we know language, we know some of our topics, but nobody's like at the PhD level, typically we have like all sorts of different iterations of what's important, what matters, what exists. So one useful thing for background searching is go to Google and see what are they talking about. So here we're talking about, so maybe there's like a keyword, so there's access, they're talking about various domains. These are key words that sociologists will use when they're talking to each other via scholarship, via scholarly articles, maybe they're in a forum, maybe it's a conference. So it's good to know those. So access, disparities, and you just write these keywords down. So access, disparities. As you go, or you could just cut and paste, but typing is much better. It sticks in your head. Ooh, social markers. I want to look up that one. And I put stuff in quotes if it's more than one word. I'll show you why that's important later. So I'll start with social inequality. You could also, if you're doing a topic on any of these, intimate partner violence, it's a very specific thing. All you have to do is search for that in quotes. And there's some scholarly articles in here, but here's the Center for Disease Control. And they'll give you criteria for what it is, what matters, what's important. And importantly, they'll also give you maybe like policy, legal issues, maybe comments on discrimination and things like that. Oh, here's like 4 types of intimate partner violence. So the CDC, physical, sexual, stalking, psychological aggression. When you know these things, it helps you build a case in your mind of like what matters to you and what's important. Why do I keep saying that? What matters, what's important? What exists, what's important. This is the basis of all philosophy, according to A.C. Grayling, Oxford philosophy professor. And I say this a lot because what we do in scholarship is we don't know typically what exists and what's important to people. And so this is why we do scientific analysis, to find out what's important, what exists. And you get to play a part in that by doing this research. Okay, so let's go back. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm hoping you can pause if I go too fast. Finding more keywords and background info is to inform you, but also give you those words, those $60 words that get us to the right thing. You can also go into Wikipedia. You don't cite this, but you look for like major concepts, major movements of what's important. Nexus Uni, this is good for looking in law or legislative moments. You can look up quotes and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm happy to help you with any of these. CQ Researcher is United States journalistic policy, lawmaking, all wrapped up into like a pro and con sort of a thing, so you can see the history of stuff. There's most of the newspapers in the United States. So for example, and this is not scholarly, but you could type in, oh, who's that guy? Am I going to spell this right? Did he spell it that way or did he spell it with the I? I'm totally going to blow it. I should have tested this keyword out before. My daughter's going to see Harry Styles. Oh yeah, so what are the most important things? Well, what we do is we look at dates. We can see Harry Styles didn't really exist before then. You can see what papers are writing about it the most, University Wire, New York Times. You can see what the subject is. You can see it's about music. So Harry Styles famously wears a boa at his concerts, and apparently you can buy official Harry Styles boas. But do they talk about style and boas in here? Maybe that doesn't matter as much. This is a negotiated moment. We don't know, so we do social science research. Okay, mid-level research. This is where scholarly articles exist. There's some newslettery stuff and letters and things like that, so beware. But all of these are really good for the people interested in the policy making that looks at particular populations that might be discriminated against. Policy, PAIS, is fantastic because what they'll do is they'll implement a law or they'll do an intervention in a society where they'll maybe do more education, maybe more healthcare, and then they'll write about it and talk about it. So that one's really good sociologically. If you want to go through census data, this isn't scholarly, but it's a fun little thing to do. I'm happy to help you with that. That's more of like who lives where and what their income is and their marital status, blah, blah, blah. The rest of these are all really good. I would encourage you to cruise through them. If you're doing anything related to younger populations or families, Education Full Text and ERIC has a huge body of evidence that they've been working with for decades. But let's go into sociological abstracts. it ported my search. So I want to do, well, let's look for social inequality. Oh, by the way, if you go to advanced search, you can break these down. Quality. So I want to look at social inequality, and I'm interested in drugs. Sometimes it will throw some synonyms in there, and you can do those. Let's see what it says for social inequality. It says nothing. I can search anywhere, or I can search specifically in the title or the abstract. I'll talk about that more in a minute. You can do dates. Hey, there's even a peer-reviewed checkbox. It's not always the 100% reliable, but it's a good filter. And let's see, let's do the last 3 years. Okay, let's see what we get. This is, when you start out, social inequality is kind of a generic term. So we might be all over the place. But drugs is specific. Oh, 247. When you're doing research at this level, there's many very specific articles. So here's one about promotion of health justice. Here's a lit review talking about a very specific population in one country. There's live births. There's some things that don't look like the war on drugs or anything. There's English festival goers, all sorts of things. How do you narrow out of that? You can add keywords. Do you see how there's an and? So you can say and crime. And you could do that in the advanced search as well. So if you're looking for, so like you could do the war on drugs, you could do crime. Pause, dramatic pause. And you see how it got narrower? So there's different countries where they're looking at things. What's another way of narrowing it down? Let's go back out. Social inequity in drugs. Another way of narrowing down, if you don't know what a topic is about or the scope of everything that's going to show up there, you can go down to the subject. And every article has a set of keywords. So if you go in, like for example, if you go into this one, the authors write keywords. They'll also put some of their keywords on their title. But you can see all of these right here. The author typically puts those keywords in there. So we know that they're talking about constructions of race, social classes, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes they have like 2 or 3 keywords. This one, they chose to put like 20 in there. But what you can do when you go into subject is you can see how those are ranked. And you could build a lit review from this. So if you're doing social inequality and crime, well, we need a definition of inequality. Maybe there's like something topical that's happened recently. You could see who's doing interventions. You could see what populations are suffering the most. There's the construction of well-being. I love that one because it could be like anything. You don't need the keyword sociology in this database. So there's specific population, blah, 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 blah. Let me do another one. Let's do war on drugs. And I'm going to take away this one. And I'm going to do inequality or racism. What are synonyms for inequality? Disparities or discrimination. So you can put in a bunch of synonyms or related terms to one of your keywords. Sometimes it'll give you these extra ones. Looks like I'm doing pretty good. So when you do the or in there, you can catch any one of those. So there's so war on drugs, that's pretty convention, iconic piece of rhetoric. But how it's discriminatory or racist or so on and so forth, it might be any one of those words. And this time, I want it to be in the abstract. And I'm going to do peer review, but I'm going to look at everything. Because I want to see what is being written about these things. You're going to let me hit go? No. I don't want to clear the form. It's not going to let me do anything. Oh, blast. It killed everything. Okay, sorry. Drugs in the abstract. Inequality. Oh, inequity. Inequality or racism or discrimination or discriminatory or racist. There we go. This time. Is this where it choked again? Okay, sorry for that. Okay, there's only 45. But you can see over in the time right here, 2002. What happened in 2002 that made this so important that there would be such a big spike like that? We don't know. So you go into 2002 and you take a look. You can go into subjects and you can see in the war on drugs what was listed as being related in the abstract, what is listed as being related to inequality, racism, discrimination. Well, drug policy, imprisonment, war, criminal justice, race, political constructions like neoliberalism. Looks like policy is a big one. Politics, prisons, maybe this is where private prisons shows up. Globalization, social policy, all those different things are things that you could do. You could just take a look at those in particular. All you have to do is click on imprisonment. And then there's 13 articles. When you're looking at a scholarly article, how do we know what's valuable, what's interesting, what's good? Let's take a look. And these all say scholarly journal. What does a scholarly article look like? Well, first of all, you can get full text PDF, but let me show you if there's one. Ooh, this is really great. Prison autobiographical narratives. Oh, what do they call those? I think it's like a personal ethnography. It's like a list of questions where you can write about yourself. When you click on that Find It, Get It button, it means that it's in another journal or another database. This is where if you ran stuck, you can go down to request an article for interlibrary loan. So scholarly article, scholarly article, the most important things about a scholarly article is that it's somebody showing up like in a lab coat and there's no social constructions of like rank or authority. It's all just kind of there so you can decide for yourself. It's a presentation of unbiasedness at its extreme. So first of all, the title is never going to be catchy. Well, sometimes they're catchy. Some people, we can't help but have a sense of humor. But this isn't something you'd see at the grocery store checkout and go, ooh, I want to buy that. You get what you get. It tells you what you're looking for. We also see the authors. There's no such thing as an anonymous scholarly article. And when we click on the author, we can typically see who they are, how to contact them, and who has bothered to hire them. So we know that are they working for a corporation? Are they biased because of the region of the country they work in? These are all things that you and I get to negotiate with. And you can see all their other articles too. You can see the journal that it's published in. Dun, dun, dun. I'm looking for the journal. Oh, there we go. Crime, Media, Culture, and International Journal. You can see how important the journal is by an impact factor. So the higher the impact factor, the more important it is to the discipline of criminology or sociology. Okay, here's how you use a scholarly article. We know what the most important things are by the title. When you go into the abstract, you should be able to read this. Some scholars are horrible writers, so we're not like doing like high-level research where we have to dig in and suffer for this. If you can't understand what's going on, skip to another article. So try and find something. But they will come to their conclusion or suggest a point or points in the abstract. So let's see if I can glean. Oh yeah, here we go. People make sense of their experiences with race and racism through time. That's a point. The articles are ultra specific. It's not general, but everything that they say is backed up by evidence in the article itself. So you don't have to read the whole thing to get a point. In fact, it's difficult to read the whole thing. It's almost like reading a telephone book, if you remember those. Once you find some of the main points, like all the names of so-and-so in a particular city, the rest of it's just kind of data to help you support or work on it or have that be part of that social construction of authenticity, authority, unbiasedness. They kind of just show you everything. Oh, okay. So they talk about a contradiction of neoliberalism being a conduit for creating communities of racial solidarity. I'm laughing because I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting that somebody would think that. When you grab a quote from the article, they'll also give you a lit review, and they'll tell you how did they come to this conclusion. In all of the articles that have happened before, this article fits in right here, and this kind of like preamble, this introduction, this lit review will tell you main points that they grabbed to get to their research study. So this one talks about prison conditions. Oh, they're talking about how black men can use autobiographical narratives. There's a tradition and legacy of laws that have criminalized generations of black men. All of these things being said are backed up by the evidence in each of these articles. You can, to a certain extent, take these for granted and just grab quotes and put them in your paper, or paraphrase and put them in your paper. So when you're building a narrative, I don't have objects. Imagine you have your grandmother or some very old person. Think of my father, if it helps. He's 80, and you need to cross a river. They are on one side of the river, and understanding your topic, your point of view, is on the other side. Each stepping stone is a different point in the narrative that will help them get to the other side. That's Brenda Durbin's sense making, another scholarly bit on, what is it? Sense making and communication, how we make sense of things and understand. Okay. Oh, that was a lot of information, wasn't it? Most of these have citation generators, and they're almost always wrong. Oh, this one worked. Are you all doing APA? I don't know if that should be capitalized. Ooh, that's a pretty good one. You can also email yourself articles. So strategy from here is email. So how many articles do you need for your paper? Go out and do some background information searching. Go into the literature and try and discover other things that are being said, and then use those to synthesize a paper where you're making points with scholarly articles. So start out with like twice as many as you need. So if you need 4 in your paper required, find 8 of them, each one of them making a different point, and you'll be able to use your own words, your own understanding, synthesizing information, and then you'll go from point, synthesis to point, synthesis to point, and then you'll be able to carry this old man across the river so I will understand what you're talking about in your paper. Do you have any questions? Send me an email, dale.larson@utah.edu. I'm here for you, so I'm happy to help.